Howdy, howdy. Welcome to officehours.fm. I don't even know why I said the .fm. Makes it sound like a radio station. But Office Hours, episode 67. I am your ridiculous host, Carrie Dills. And today I have on from all the way across the world, Barry. Barry, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Okay. You'll notice I omitted your last name from the introduction, and that's because I would inevitably mess it up. So, would you say it?
It's actually quite easy. It's Kooij, like the fish.
Kooij.
Kooij, yeah.
Oh, did I sound ridiculous when I said it, or like?
No, most non-Dutch speakers would say Kooij, something like that. But it's Kooij, so pretty easy.
Okay, well, hooked on phonics worked for me. All right, so I'll be chatting with Barry today, and if you are tuning in live, you can get your questions into him by tagging it with Office FM on Twitter, or if you're watching via this via Google Plus, just throw your question up in the Q&A app that is turned on. And I promise to check it this episode. Before we dive in, I would love to thank our episode sponsors. We have DreamPress 2, which is a managed WordPress host offering from DreamHost, who's been around forever. I mean, I think they sponsor pretty much every WordCamp that ever was. Anyhow, it's a super fast, hosted on VPS. They've got all kinds of bells and whistles, HHVM, and latest. Well, yeah, it's speedy. As a matter of fact, I wanted Ryan Sullivan. I'm detouring here because I can't help but detour. Barry, I'm chronically famous for it. But Ryan did a shared hosting comparison review maybe a year or two ago that was fantastic. He took like the top 10 hosts. And I mean, really did some great research on him and just pummeled them with hits and whatnot, and then came back and gave the results. And I think it would be really interesting if he did that same thing for managed WordPress host. But at any rate, DreamPress 2 has all the things in place to make your website super speedy. You can check them out at dreamhost.com/officehours. And then we've got Desktop Server. Barry, have you ever used Desktop Server? Are you familiar with it?
No.
It's a way to spin up local WordPress installs locally. You don't have to install MAMP or WAMP or any of those things. You don't have to install MySQL. Desktop Server just does all of that, and at the touch of a button, you can have a new WordPress install up and running. You can check them out at serverpress.com. So, all right. With the introductions aside, let's get down to the meat of things. So Barry, I've seen your name forever around the interwebs, and then I guess it was maybe a few months ago that we actually kind of you reached out and we started chatting, and I'm so glad you did. And there are things that you've done, plugins that you've made that I was already using, like your related post plugin, your downloads monitor plugin. I just didn't know that they belonged to you. So thank you for creating awesome plugins. And you know what? Let me let you give an official introduction of yourself. And for people that haven't met Barry Kooij,
Nice.
Here he is. So take it away.
All right. So I am working at. Sounds a bit strange, but I have a company called Never5, and it's 16 days old, so it's quite young. And yeah, pretty much all WordPress related work, and at this moment plugins. So related posts for WordPress, which pretty much does what it says, gives you related posts for WordPress. And there's the oldest plugin is Post Connector, which is to create many-to-many relationships in WordPress. Sounds really complicated, but there are a lot of use cases that people didn't even know they actually wanted to use it until they used it. And another big one is Download Monitor, which is a free one, which has beta extensions, which is a plugin to manage downloads. So it has logs. It's you'll be able to add different versions to downloads, all sorts of fancy stuff. Those are the ones that actually make money. And then I think one of my most popular plugins is actually What the File, which doesn't earn any money, but it's a little plugin which has add something to your admin bar to tell you if you're in a team what template file WordPress is using to serve the page, and it's also bbPress compatible and all stuff like that. So yeah, most people don't know that's written by me, but then once they know, it's like, oh yeah, I've used What the File. So that's a pretty popular one.
Oh, nice. So it's kind of like Query Monitor, which shows you the template on the front end, but for the admin side of WordPress?
No, it's for the front end.
Oh, it is for the front end. Okay.
Yeah, but it's like 2 years old or something like that, so I'm not really sure. I just created it because at the time I was working at a local development company, and I was sometimes forced into editing teams. And I mean, you have no clue what file you need to edit to change the string or something like that. So just created a tool, uploaded it to the log. It was my first plugin, and it's got like 30,000 downloads, something like that. So it's pretty cool. And I've done a little trick there for the first time, which is side tracking, along with your side tracking, is that after 14 days, I think, it shows a little notice in the WordPress admin area saying like, you obviously like the plugin, would you like it to give it a rating? I think I was one of the first to do it like that, and yeah, that kind of got some buzz around it because people were liking it and hating it. But it got me like 230 5-star reviews or something like that.
Wow. Yeah, you never know when you put it out there to leave how things will go.
Yeah.
So to set a little background, you worked with WooCommerce, and how long were you with them?
Close to a year, so not very long. Used to work at Yoast before that, and before that, local development company. So doing WordPress for a long time and the product space for about 2 years.
Cool. And then in June, WooCommerce was acquired by Automattic, the company behind WordPress.com.
Right.
And because you have these quote unquote side projects that you're working on and actually trying to make money from,
Right.
that was, I guess, considered a conflict of interest with Automattic. So you said so long, and here you are.
Yeah, basically that's it. I mean, I had some chats with Automattic about it. They're actually pretty cool. Try to work out solutions, but I mean, at the end, it just came down to, if you're going to join Automattic, then you can't do these things. And these things is what I've been working so hard on for the past years, and just didn't want to give them up. So shaking hands and say goodbye.
Well, congratulations on your 16-day-old company. I'm sure it's equal parts scary and exciting.
It's very scary. It's very exciting. It's very scary.
Yeah, you mentioned on the pre-show that it feels kind of weird not to have to check in with anyone and say what you're working on.
It doesn't feel like working. So I find myself working in the evenings, doing stuff I don't really like, just to get the I don't know how to explain. It just doesn't. It feels like I'm on vacation, because I would always work on these projects in my spare time, and I always really loved working on them. So I guess there's some sort of connection in my brain, like you're off when you work on these things. So I mean, I can't complain. I wonder when it will start to feel like working.
Yeah, it'll start to feel like work. You just hang on, buddy.
All right.
We have a question from Devender, and I'm not sure how much you can actually comment on this, but since you were a Woo insider, if you will, do you have any thoughts on that WooThemes purchase by Automattic that you can say out loud?
I think for WooThemes, it's a great deal. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, yes, I used to work for WooThemes, but I know just as little as anyone else. It's not like I was some sort of special person there. I just worked on WooCommerce. Yeah, I think for WooThemes and for WooCommerce, it's great. I mean, their teams just got like 10 times bigger or something like that. And for me, it wasn't that great because I love working there. But maybe at the end it was great for me as well, because this forced me into pursuing my dream. That sounds really corny, but yeah.
It's No, it's not corny. It's really cool. Somebody was just telling me, I think yesterday, that a dream without a plan was just a wish. So you've got your plan. So how are you prioritizing what you're working on plugin wise? Are you working on like next releases or?
I mean, I'm only doing this for 16 days, so I can't really say I got a winning formula. But I tend to wake up and do all my support, and then do my support at 12 and do my support at 5. 5 is around when I stop officially working. That's like the plan. I haven't really managed to actually stop around 5, but that's the plan. And then prioritize it just from week to week. So this week I'm working on a new extension for Download Monitor, and I spent the first weeks doing free updates. I think it's about finding a balance between what's making money directly and what's going to make money in the long term. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, support's like my #1 priority. So I only do dev when all my support is done, because yeah, I think it's really important to support the people that already paid you, and just make sure that they're able to do whatever they wanted to do, and then I'll work on new stuff.
Well, I can personally testify to your great support.
Thank you.
I have your premium version of the Post Connector. And we have Design TLC who's chiming in that you provided great support to her just this week. She says hello.
Cool.
Yeah, so that support aspect is, like you said, there's that once you sell the product, you have the obligation to serve that customer. I do think it's interesting that you pointed out the things, prioritizing your time based on the things that are making you money right now versus the things that have the potential to make you money in the future. And I've kind of found myself at that same crossroads, and it's a it's a really scary balance. Not taking on as much client work. Now I've gone and made this about myself.
It's fine.
But not taking on as much client work in order to be able to spend some time on my own product development, and with the hopes, obviously, in the long term that will have some payoff, but it has zero payoff in the short term. So
yeah,
I'm there with you.
For now, I actually don't do any client work. I set the goal to try for 6 months without client work. So with direct income, I mean, if I would finish a Download Monitor extension, and I would blast out the email announcing it with some discount or whatever, I am guaranteed to sell it in X amount of times based on whatever previous plugins did. And I mean, support sounds like a burden, but support's like the best pool for ideas. So I build extensions based on what people want. So you basically know, like, this is going to sell 10, 20 times when I do the mailing. So I'll know I'll have this amount of money. Long term, not making money directly is pushing out free updates. So the stuff that's on the door, Related Post as a free version, Post Connector as a free version, and Download Monitor is obviously completely free. Those things are investments. If you make that product great, then you'll be able to make money off them eventually, but that won't happen. It's not like when I push a .org update, I'll get a lot of sales.
That's pretty cool. So you have the, I guess the market validation before you even build your extension that it's going to be something people want.
Yeah, or at least I hope I do. I mean, it's kind of worked out, but I mean, you never know. I'm working on something now, and I might release it, and no one buys it, and I still had fun making it. So.
Well, there you go. Well, Jackie asked, when in the world of creating premium plugins, what are the biggest challenges that you faced so far?
Actually, selling them is a big challenge. That sounds really stupid, but it's hard to actually sell these things. And what I find hard at Related Post is to determine what's going to make it. So what feature is going to make it into the actual plugin, and what's going to be some sort of snippet that you just provide to a single customer. For Download Monitor, that's a lot easier because they're extensions. So if someone wants a feature that I like, I just build it and release it, and doesn't harm anyone that's not buying it. I think that's a really hard. It's hard to be able to not let your plugin become this beast within a year that you can't manage anymore, and it's just messing up sites everywhere. Quality control, I guess I call it.
Do you ever see opening up the ability to add extensions to other developers?
For Download Monitor, I'm actually it's not really officially open, but there is someone already working on an extension, and there's actually already one. I have a couple of lock plugins, we call them, which is if you want to get access to a download, you have to either fill in a gravity form or leave your email, and there's a MailChimp lock. So join our MailChimp list before you gain access to this awesome PDF file. And that's created by Danny van Koten, which created the MailChimp for WordPress plugin, one of the most popular WordPress MailChimp plugin. So he already built it as a third-party developer. I don't want to have it all open and have everyone just submit, because eventually I'm the one that people will come to for support, and I'm the one that people will give their money to. So quality is always the #1 priority.
Makes total sense. Well, I wanted to give you my own testimonial about your post connector plugin. And for the folks that are listening, I think you might find some application on some things you're working on. But on officehours.fm, I have kind of a standard template that I use for every episode. Excuse me, allergies or something today. Whew. And as part of that, I have a custom sidebar that shows the sponsors, and then I also include a transcript. And both the transcript is a custom post type. The sponsors are a custom post type. And it's really nice to just click a little button that says link and have those components brought in or connected to that post, versus the alternative, which would be actually storing all of that data in the post itself, which it was incredibly tedious. Like for sponsors, for instance, I don't want to. In the past, before I moved, when I was still serving the podcast off of carrydeals.com, I manually embedded all the sponsors into each post. And so, copy, paste. So by adding it as a post type and then connecting it to the podcast page, that's simplified life. So anyways, there's a little practical usage for you if you're tuning in. And thank you, Barry, for creating something very cool.
Awesome.
So I think that you're going to give away a plugin today. Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true.
I heard rumors. Okay, so we'll do that later in the show.
Sure.
Let's see. We have a question from Devender. So a lot of folks who listen to this show are fans of the Genesis framework. Have you ever used Genesis or worked with any of their plugins?
No, I have not. No. The thing is that being in the product space for so long kind of limits you to using stuff like Genesis, because that's something you would use to implement a website for you or a client. And I think I used Genesis once, and it was because there was a conflict with related posts, which I solved. And that was pretty cool. I think I just emailed the Genesis people, and they just gave me like a zip file. Here's to just debug away. For my own stuff, like my own websites, I always tend to just keep it as basic as possible. Like never5.com doesn't even have WordPress behind it. It's just HTML.
Whoa, you're kicking it old school.
I figured, like, why would I create this whole CMS around it while I just, just a static website? So I always like to keep it really simple and basic.
Wow. You know what? Maybe it's just my laziness kicking in, but I'll use WordPress even just for like a one-pager, even if it would be pretty straightforward HTML, just because, why not? It's probably overkill, but yeah, it just didn't occur to me to, go back to just plain old HTML.
Just HTML.
That's awesome.
Pretty fast.
Leonica has a question, and she says, say that people want a special plugin that can't be found anywhere else. Can they contact you? And I guess that's, do you do custom plugin development?
So theoretically, no. But you can always pitch the idea, and we can talk about, if I really like the idea, I could create it in a way that other people could use it. But I normally don't do client work because this move for me is to get away from being paid per hour, so that if you don't spend a complete hour, you don't get paid. So you can always contact me, and I always love to give my opinion on it, but most, like 99% of the times, I'll say no to custom work.
Well, I admire that because, when you've got your site set on a particular goal, which for you, it's building out Never 5, opportunities are constantly flying by, and you have to look at it and say, yes, that's an alignment with where I want to go, or no, it's a distraction. So being able to say no to those things is a great skill. Kind of hard. I had a hard time learning that myself. So Jackie had a follow-up when we were talking about the extensions, but she asked, with so many free plugins, how do you sort out what features users will pay for?
Trial and error. So Post Connector is my oldest plugin, just to give a bit of an example with it, and it's a really technical plugin. And I'm not as transparent as everyone else about sales, but I can tell anyone that Post Connector is doing the worst. It's still doing okay, but it's doing the worst because it's so technical and so badly marketed that no one actually understands what it does. And what sells the best? For Download Monitor, what sells the best is this extension called Page Add-on, which displays your downloads in a fancy way. So how do you figure out what people will pay for? It's mostly the stuff you don't expect. It's not the super complicated stuff. It's the I want to change. Give me a button pack of 10 different button colors, something like that. I will be working on, and yeah. Basically, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
You release it and you see if it works. And MVP is kind of the word of 2014, but I always create products as minimal as possible. So without adding all these extra cool features that you come up with during development, and then just release them. And if they're selling well, then I'll work extra on it. And if they're not really selling well, then it's just an MVP for a year.
Okay, that's another really hard thing to do, which is that first go around, not to pile all the things in, because you get excited about it, right?
Yeah, I've gotten quite good at that. I'm in this Slack group with a couple of people, and it's kind of at the point that we validate ideas with each other. They also create WordPress products, and it's gotten to the point that I'm the one who's like, should I put this in? I actually don't want to do this in V1, and then they're like, yeah, you should really put it in V1. So I'm getting to the other end of MVP, as in shipping as less as possible.
Yeah, I had Matt Medeiros on the show last week, and we talked quite a bit about that MVP and just sort of getting things out the door sooner than later. Interesting stuff there. Yeah. So you are a self-proclaimed poor product marketer.
I don't know. I'm just it's trial and error.
Okay, but like the post connector plugin, you now have my testimonial and a use case scenario. So allow me to help you in your marketing.
That would be awesome.
Of that. So, you've been around WordPress for a long time. And WooCommerce, they eventually originally had a lot of third-party developers that could sell extensions there as part of the WooCommerce or WooTheme site. and then eventually kind of closed the door and went only where they were only listing their own extensions in their marketplace. Am I remembering correctly?
I think WooCommerce also included so there's different type of third parties in WooCommerce. I think they were the ones that link to an external site, and there's just a whole lot of plugins that are third party, but the customer doesn't really know that third party.
Okay, gotcha. So where I was going with this, and it ties in with a question from Jackie, but do you think the premium plugin market will fare any better than the premium theme market? I mean, that's the sort of, I don't know, the bane of our existence. We can't get people to pay more than $50 or $100 for something that saves them time and is, I'll let you share your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it actually will. I think that it's super silly because it's almost like people put on a different hat when they shop for a plugin, in my experience. So for themes, they want it to be cheap and good looking, and then when you give the counter argument saying that it's not really well built, they don't really listen to that advice. But if you do that for a plugin, then people are suddenly concerned because plugins are functionality, and they think I've noticed that a lot of people buy my plugins because they've heard that they are of good quality. There's actually what I've been pushing with Never 5, saying high quality WordPress plugin. So I'm not the cheapest, I will never be the cheapest, but you're gonna get good support and good plugins. And I think a lot of people will actually pay a little extra to be able to get something that would still run in a year or in 2 years, something like that.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought about that, but yeah, people are used to, you install a crappy plugin in your site tanks when that's rarely the case with a theme. So it is more visible, seemingly more important that a plugin be more well built than a theme. Interesting.
Well, it's not. I mean, I definitely don't agree with how people think because
no, but I mean, but that's perception, and I mean, it's just a really interesting observation. So how do you determine your price point for your products?
Trial and error.
I've noticed you trend, Barry.
I know, but I mean, I could just say I mean, in terms of coding, I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing, and all the other stuff around it is just me trying stuff. And I mean, I raise my prices and then I lower them and I know all the tactics, right? So if you up your pricing and you sell less but you make more money, then you win eventually because you have less support. So I'm trying stuff like that, but I mean, my company is so young that I can't really say what's working for me yet.
Well, you've had them on the market for a while, just not with your full focus.
Yeah, that's true.
But has anybody noticed when you've done those pricing adjustments or been all like, hey, last week it was...
No, never had that before. No, that was my first concern when I first changed. I had a lot of $19 extensions first at Download Monitor, and they're almost all $29 now. And the first extension I changed, I changed it and I waited for 3-4 days, refreshing my inbox, see if anyone would email me madly. But I mean, no one notices if you change your prices. I'm actually using it in marketing now because I'm going to change my prices soon again, and I email everyone that I'm going to up my prices. So and I'll probably be changing them next week. So then I can email them, say I warned you. More expensive now.
So now they'll notice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Ben makes an astute point when it goes back to paying for premium themes or plugins. He said, I found that if it's their business spending money, they're happy to spend a lot. And if it's their own money, they're much less so. And that's truth, Ben. Preach it. We got another question. She says, I noticed on your support emails this week, you asked for a rating. Do people respond? And then how do you use that info?
So that's a Help Scout feature. I'm using Help Scout, if you haven't heard of that yet. and you need to do support. I mean, sign up. It's one of the best decisions I've made in creating stuff. It's amazing. Um, um, I don't respond to the grade ratings other than that I use the overall statistics over the past year on my website. So my website says like 93% of people rate our support as great, which I think is a super awesome statement to make. If I actually get anything else than great, so there's not good, which basically means bad, and there's okay, I always respond to those people asking how I could improve their experience. I did a tweet about this a couple of days ago that I think, except for one, all my not good ratings, which are like 5, are from non-customers who wanted me to do custom development on their site, and I told them that I couldn't do that, right? I just can't help you for free. I'm really sorry, and I don't do client work. And then they leave me a not good rating. So it's kind of demotivating, but I get over it.
Yes, I'm sorry that you wanted to buy an orange, and I am the grocery store that only sells apples. So why don't you leave me a terrible review for just not being what you were looking for? That's
Right.
good.
But I mean, overall, my experience with support has been great. I didn't have any people cursing or getting really mad at me or anything. So that's it's been a nice experience so far. People are really grateful.
That's good. And nice to know that that number on your website actually comes from actual statistics versus, let me see, I think I've only gotten a few angry emails. 93%.
No, and you can't manipulate those things. HelpScout did a post on it when they introduced it. So the ratings, I can't say like, oh, I'm going to delete this conversation because it was rated not good. You can't do that. The rating will still be there. I mean, that's what HelpScout says. I haven't actually tried it. But.
Yeah, I'm using Help Scout for my product support, but I'm using the lowest level one, so I don't think it has the rating capability.
I think it actually does. You just have to enable it.
Oh, well.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Watch out, world.
It's funny because it's some people like it gives also some sort of some people really think that you're this gigantic company and they're writing this review saying like, Barry helped me really well, he's doing good in support.
Tell
like,
Barry's boss
thanks.
he needs a raise.
Which is really fun. So you should enable it, even if you're like a solopreneur, enable it.
Okay, that actually sounds like fun.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna look into that. Let's see, we've got, let's talk about your related post plugin a little bit. So there's several other similar plugins on the market. Probably the most, I don't know if popular is the right word, but Jetpack, I don't know if you would consider that your biggest competitor, but they have that related post module. What's going on under the hood that makes your plugin better than those other ones out there?
So my related post plugin was kind of created out of frustration. They were all the available solutions, including Jetpack, but many others, were either hosted on someone else's server, which I didn't feel like doing, because Jetpack is storing all your related posts on their server, or they were terribly slow. Because if they were hosted on your own server, they would like find related posts on every page request. So that combined with that, I've always thought it would be interesting to write some sort of algorithm to find related posts. Kind of was the birth of related posts for WordPress.
You're a nerd, Barry. I like it.
And I mean, like the unique selling point is of points of related posts for WordPress is that it doesn't hurt your performance, so it caches everything. It uses a lot of the architecture I've created for Post Connector. It uses that in related posts for WordPress. So you still have the whole, I mean, you've used Post Connector, right? So underneath your content field, there's a meta box with your linked posts. Related posts for WordPress does the same thing. But the only difference is that it finds them automatically for you, but then it caches them. So you can go to a post, say like, I don't really like this related post. You might think that it's related, but I don't want to promote this post. And you can just unlink it and link another post, and it will remember that that's a manually linked post.
Nice. So that gives you or clearly a performance advantage if you're not trying to search for related post fresh every time.
Right. Yeah, and it got some other cool stuff. I have to admit that I'm not really the type of person that looks into what the competition is doing, because if you'll do that, you'll, in my opinion, just end up building what they're building. But what I've recently released is a styling configurator, I believe I call it, which gives you how do I put this? It's a JavaScript configurator. So you just put in like title, content, image, and you can drag them to the left, drag them to the right, make them bigger. So you can completely control how your related posts are displayed without coding, without having to do any CSS or anything like that. So that's pretty sweet as well.
Cool. So let's say I write a blog post today and publish it, and it comes up with some related posts for me. And let's say tomorrow I write a post that in my mind is related to that post I wrote the day before.
Mm-hmm.
When you will, what am I trying to say? Will it ever refresh the cached related post that it's pulling if there's new content that's relevant? So
it doesn't out of the box. Hardest thing to do that is that if you have a big site, then the caching procedure might take a while, and I don't want to do that on the fly. I have some WP CLI commands, and I know big sites who've set up cron jobs. So every week via CLI, they just refresh related posts. Smaller sites just rerun the installer, and it's basically automatic. You just have to press rerun, and then it finds related posts.
Okay. So it's sort of the nuclear rebuild option.
Yeah, so. Yeah. And I'm looking into making that automatic, but the WordPress cron isn't the most reliable of WordPress's features to build on. So it's kind of a technical issue to make that work well. So to not do more damage with the feature than to actually help people.
When you say WP cron isn't the most reliable, is that in terms of firing when it's supposed to fire, or?
Yeah, it doesn't always fire, and I've had cases that it just doesn't fire at all, like ever, and stuff like that. So if I want to introduce that feature, I want it to be perfect. It should be like 100% working, and I don't feel comfortable with relying that on WP cron at the moment.
Well, and that's why you put out quality products, Gary. I just called you Gary, Barry. Okay, let's put people out of their misery and do this plugin giveaway. So what are we giving away?
Yeah, we kind of discussed this. I don't really mind. So whatever someone wants, obviously I need to own it. I'm not giving away a Genesis theme. But so either a related post to WordPress, post connector, or a download monitor extension of your choice, with the exception of the bundle, just to make clear that you can't pick them all. Yeah, just tweet out what you want to win. Maybe you can have the.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to share a screen so everybody knows I'm not lying here. Oh wait, where's I lost my Hangout window. This is why I don't do. Okay, so I'm not looking at my Twitter screen right now. I'm just looking at. Let me show you what's on my screen. That might cause like some kind of Hangout inception. I don't know. But okay,
it should work.
Oh no. Let's see. Oh no, we've got Barry Hangout.
Oh my God.
Whoa. Okay, so let me go look at something else. I don't want to look at TweetDeck. Hey, let's check out iTunes. Oh look, hey, there are your plugins right here. So I'm not looking at TweetDeck. So right now, you better use #OfficeFM and say which plugin you're interested in of Barry's. Thank you for qualifying that. And I'm about to pop over to Twitter. And then I'm the first one I see. I'm just going to point on the screen, and that's the winner. Does that seem fair?
You can pick the winner. I don't really mind how you pick it. So that's fair. Well, yes.
This is the most unscientific giveaway ever. But okay, all right, people. Here I go. Twitter. Boom. Wait, nope. Oh, what's wrong one? That's a question. Devender, related post plugin. There you go. Right there. Sorry, WP Addict, you are late to the party. Okay, so I'll turn off the screen share here so it stops scaring everyone. Wow, that was an interesting little live experiment there. Oh, okay. And how do I get back to my normal screen? Sometimes I am surprised that I do technological things for a living, considering how utterly non-techy I can be at some moments. So congratulations, Devender. I'll let you and Barry touch base to work out the details of getting that to you. Okay, Barry, let's take a wee break. I wanted to share with listeners a couple things that I've got going on. So Phil, excuse me for butting in on your interview. I'm working on a couple of really exciting things. One of them is WP or WordPress development workflows. So Barry, I've had a lot of both listeners and just the folks who follow my blog, some beginner and intermediate level developers that are looking to sort of level up their development skills, and they don't necessarily have a good workflow yet. So maybe they're not using version control, or they haven't discovered the glories of Grunt or Gulp, that sort of thing. So I've got a webinar series in the works that's going to be coming up in August next month, and head over to wpdevelopmentworkflow.com if you want to opt in for the early bird access. And next week I'm going to open up registration, and those guys will get a special deal that the general public doesn't get. So anyways, so sign up for that if you're interested. And then also I'm working on some personas. So you guys may have seen me tweeting from the office hours account. And Barry, you may find this interesting for your own marketing purposes. So personas are basically you try to paint a picture of who your customer is, in this case, who my listener is, and put a face to that person. So like I have some ideas about who listens to the show. I suspect that most of you are freelancers, that you're working in the WordPress space. But I have, beyond those things, I don't really know enough about you to make sure that the guest I'm bringing on and the content we're discussing is really what you want to hear. So in order to help me understand who you are, that are listening to the show and working on these personas, I created a survey. It's over at officehours.fm/survey. It's totally anonymous, but if you wanted to fill that out and kind of help shape the show, that would be of tremendous, I would say thank you for that. So, all right, I will stop blabbing and we'll get back to some questions. So, all right, thanks for bearing with me for that, Barry.
All good.
So let's talk about WordPress moving forward. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but how do you see WordPress evolving? Are we going to stay on the sort of same trajectory of that we're on, or do you see it? I don't know. Discuss.
Well, I think there are two different ways of looking at it. As a business person, I think WordPress is still one of the best spaces to be in. I mean, I haven't actually tried selling anything like software not within WordPress, but I could imagine it being a lot harder than already having people on the platform. They just have to press one button and they can like use your software on their website and just work with all the other stuff. So that's great. From a technical point of view, obviously I'm a developer, so I mean I got my own grunges about some stuff like the PHP 5.2 stuff, which I still don't really understand why we're still lingering on that really old version. I mean, in terms of business, it's not really directly hurting my business, but I really want to make high quality plugins, and they could be so much higher quality if I could just write them for a up-to-date PHP version, for example.
Can you give an example of something that you cannot do right now because of the PHP version?
Namespaces, for example, right? So if you look through my plugins, they should be, I mean, in my head, they are pretty structured. I don't know if you look through post connectors code, but it should be pretty structured. But you're still like prefixing every method, you're prefixing every class, there are conflicts, all that kind of stuff. If you just would be able to say, like, we're on 5.3, we got namespaces, you can solve so many of those issues with one line. Just say namespace never 5, and you're done. This is my namespace. Whatever I declare here is mine. I mean, I don't want to get into many technical things, but it's so much faster, it's so much more secure. So yeah, hoping to see that very, very soon.
All right. Well, we don't mind technical things on the show. As a matter of fact, let's get down to some nuts and bolts. So, what is your development workflow? What tools you're using? Go for it.
All right. Vagrant. I use Vagrant for different development environments. They don't use. I've used VVV a while, but it just turned out to be too big for me. I like simple stuff, so I just took I know a little bit of Linux myself, so I just built my own box. Just has the only things on it that I need. Use PHP Storm, obviously Git, SVN only because of WordPress.org. Yeah, I work with PHP Storm, which I really love. It's a great editor. I love the full EDI experience, having everything in there. It's well worth the money. Yeah, and I've written some release scripts. So I think I've published some of those already, but I don't mind sharing those again. So I've written some shell scripts that you can run on your Mac or on Linux, and they'll basically take your Git repository, create a tag, and push it to WordPress.org. So all those releases, I don't have to do manual. I'll just run the command, and it's just quite nice. And I got one that creates zip files as well, so I won't mind sharing that either, which is nice because all my premium stuff are zip files. So I just run the script, it gives me a zip file, I upload it to my own website, and the update is pushed.
So it takes your Git repo and pushes it to SVN.
Yeah, well, it doesn't do the actual commit because I find that too scary. So it sets everything ready, and then it does an SVN status, so I can see if this is really what I want to commit, and then it pastes a line I can copy and paste, so it commits everything. So yeah, releasing takes me like 10 seconds.
Cool. And I assume you're over on github.com if people wanted to sleuth around your code a bit.
Yeah, my open source stuff is on GitHub, and a lot of my closed source stuff is on GitLab, which is pretty much the same thing, but free until like 10,000 repos. And it's amazing. I mean, actually, the longer I use GitLab, the more I start to like it over GitHub. They have these awesome settings with organizations, and you add someone, and then they're like a developer role, but they can't commit to master, all those kind of things, so they can only work on their own branches. It's completely free. I don't have any shares in it, but
it's free even for private repos?
Yeah, like 5,000 private repos for free.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it has an issue tracker, milestones, basically has everything that GitHub has, but free. And I really like it.
I like the roles, because that's giving people like, say, read-only access, or I've lamented the lack of those features in GitHub quite a few times. So that I will check that out. GitLab, L-E-T?
Yeah, L-A-B from laboratorium. Yeah, GitLab.org is the version that you can host on your own server, if you would be into that kind of thing, which I'm not. And then GitLab is their hosted solution. I like it, especially for Download Monitor. I have so many extensions already, and they're all private, but they're all like 1 Mbit or 1 megabyte, right? And for GitHub, it gets quite pricey quite fast. So I really like GitLab for them.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I'm checking that out. And now I'm wondering, how do they always get suspicious when there are great services that are completely free? Like, how are they monetizing this? Is it a funnel for some other sales point, or?
I don't know. I mean, they have pay plans. I don't really know what their business model is.
Well, once again,
me.
you don't have shares in the company, so how
No.
would you know, right? Okay, I'm tweeting out that link. If anyone wants to check that out. Thanks for the share, Barry. That's a good one. And you know what? Pre-show, we were talking about another helpful security plugin. Will you share with listeners about that?
Yeah. So on my websites, I use Google two-factor authentication. There are a couple of providers. I mean, two-factor authentication's kind of. I mean, a lot of more services are using it these days. It's basically you have your username, your password, and then you need a code, which is, I think it refreshes like every 10 seconds. And the Google one is free. So there's a great plugin. I will share it later. It's a great plugin on the door, which is free. You install it. You install the app on your mobile device or on your watch, which I do. And then, I mean, then people can steal your password and still can't get in, which is pretty good if you have all that client information on your website.
So are you having to, I guess then you're manually typing in whatever that code is?
Yeah, so it's 6 digits and it just
Okay.
refreshes every 10 seconds and you just type it in an extra text field. And
Okay, it's not some ridiculous 14 string.
no, it's 6 digits and you set it per user. So example for Download Monitor, if I log in with my administration account, I have to use Google Authentication, but my clients don't have to. So you can set it per user. It's pretty cool.
All right. This is kind of, well, it's not actually related at all. It just made me think of it. But have you ever used the WordPress app to actually go in and do anything on a site?
Nope.
Have you ever met anyone who's used the app?
No, I looked at it like 2 years ago, and then it said it doesn't support custom post types, and I was like, okay, never mind, I'll just log in.
Okay, yeah, that's a fail. Hopefully, that's been updated since.
I don't know. Actually, but I mean, WordPress backend is so responsive that I don't really see the use of an app there. Maybe for pictures, but nothing else. Like
Yeah.
if you would like to take a photo with your camera, then it would be nice if you can like instantly blog it, I guess, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah, me neither. Just checking, just checking. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left in the show. So if you have a question for Barry, get it on in here and tag it with hashtag OfficeFM or submit it via the Google Plus Q&A app. And Ray is asking, what was the link again? Ray, if you're talking about, it's GitLab, GETLAB.com. If you want to check out those repositories. And somebody else was, Mike tweeted about Bitbucket, which I've used too, but I don't think Bitbucket has those roles that you're talking about.
Maybe I've compared a couple of them, and GitLab just had more free private stuff. So I'm Dutch, so I just chose the cheapest one.
Did you just make a generalization about all Dutch people?
Well, maybe just me, but we're pretty well known for that.
Interesting. Well, learn some new things. And back on the topic of a two-factor authentication, Ben chimes in that Clef is an interesting tool.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Jackie's asking, what are the most common mistakes that plugin developers make when starting out? Like what's like, you noob?
Not shipping. So not releasing anything.
I like that answer. Plus
my biggest mistake, like starting over and creating complete new frameworks for things that no one's going to use, and yeah, that was my biggest mistake, not shipping. I mean, in terms of technique, not using enough hooks and filters, typical rookie mistake. Especially for people that are not used to WordPress development. So you build this in your perfect scenario, and then someone wants to extend it, and you have 0 hooks and filters. People don't really like that. So add in hooks and filters. That's a really good one. But definitely ship it, because you think that you know what people want, but you really don't. So you'll start getting feedback once you ship it.
That is, that's some golden advice right there. Yeah, that's golden. Okay, Jackie, I hope that encouraged you to ship whatever is currently sitting on your desktop. Get it on out there, girl. Got a question from the vendor. He asked, which is a better business model, in your opinion, standalone premium plugin or a free plugin with premium extensions?
So it's funny because I actually think about it like every other day. Which do I like more? I have Post Connector used to be premium only, and then Related Post is like a free version and a premium version, and Download Monitor is free with paid extensions. So I've tried all three models. I moved away from premium only on Post Connector because that just didn't sell at all. So I went to having a free version and a paid version. I think if you have a plugin or idea that allows you to create enough extensions that it still feels like people are actually paying for value, then that would be the best way to go. Some plugins, I consider this as Related Post, and I ended up not building extensions, which I sometimes regret, sometimes don't, because I felt like the core functionality of offering Related Posts was not something I could rip up into extensions. But I am now starting to get to the point that I'm thinking like maybe I should build extensions for the premium plugin. So I think Gravity Forms has this. They have premium only and then paid extensions, which makes sense. Even if it's from a technical point of view, some people have some really cool features that I really would like to build, but most people won't use, so I don't want to put them in the premium. So. But business-wise, extensions, because the hardest part is selling something to someone, because no one knows that I'm really Barry. Well, now you do because I'm here, but if you look at my website, you don't. You don't know if maybe I'm in some country where there's no authority and I'll just take your money via PayPal and never send you something. And with Related Posts, once you have that conversion, it's nice, but it ends there and most people won't renew. So it's hard. With extensions, once you get someone to pay you, you can then sell them more, and they do. Like a lot of my sales come from people who have already bought something at the same shop, because they know if I give this person money, then he'll give me what he promised to give me, which is support and a plugin and all that stuff. So the first sale is the hardest. So with extensions, you can definitely cross-sell, upsell, all the fancy marketing terms. It's basically if you gain someone's trust, and then you can sell them more, which kind of makes sense, I guess.
Very true. That's the easy digital downloads model.
And WooCommerce.
Yes, WooCommerce as well. And I mean, I have snatched up so many extensions. I probably just should have bought the whole bundle at some to save myself all the one-offs. But you know, I'll come across an issue or something I want to do, and I'll go look, and sure enough, an extension exists. And I'm like, well, is it worth $40 of my time to not fart with this? Just install a plugin and be done? Yes.
It's always worth it, right?
Yeah. It's a no-brainer. We've got a confirmation from Jeffrey, a fellow Dutchman, confirming that you are indeed careful with money.
Careful is a better word. I should have used careful.
Oh, thank you, Jeffrey, for that. We are at the top of the hour. If you want to squeeze in one more question, we can get that in. Before we sign off, I do want to thank again our show sponsors. We've got DreamHost, who brings you some very affordable managed WordPress hosting, actually the most affordable on the market. You can check them out at dreamhost.com/dream. Wait, just kidding. dreamhost.com/office hours. And then Desktop Server, which is the easiest way to spin up local WordPress installs and work with WordPress locally. And you can even do deployments to your live site. So pretty cool. You can check them out at serverpress.com. And with that, Barry, I'm not seeing any more questions. So any parting wisdom or anything that you would like to shout out to the Office Hours FM listeners before you go?
No. One thing when you asked about the tools I use, text expanders, maybe a good closing remark. Don't know if you ever heard of text expander.
Is that the one where you do like a little shortcut and it puts in a blob of text?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like it helps me save so much time in my support workflow because so many people ask the same question, which kind of relates to a different subject. So maybe you should do more documentation on that part. But a lot of people just they want, could you please tell me my license? Could you please resend me the invoice? Those kind of things. And I just type in invoice or invoice sent or something like that with a semicolon in front of it, and it just paste in this blob of text saying like, yo, no problem, just send it to you, let me know if there's anything else I can help you with. And yeah, I think it's $40, but it's free, but then after like an hour saved, so it calculates how much time you're saving. After an hour saved, it keeps nagging you to purchase it, but it's well worth the money. It's amazing.
Interesting. Good extra tip there. And before we go, Barry, Jackie did want to confirm. So you cannot use namespaces and plugins presently if they're in the repo? Or I guess it doesn't even matter if they're in the repo.
No. So for one of my plugins, I use a little framework, I guess you call it, that Koen Jacobs created, which checks if you have PHP version 5.3, and if you don't, it just doesn't load the plugin. So you can do that. Then you can use namespaces, but if someone's running PHP 5.2 and you declare a namespace, you'll get a fatal error. So it will just tank their whole site. So you can only do it if you pre-check if they're on the correct PHP version.
I hate fatal errors.
Right. So it's, I mean, and it's so hard, it's so easy to make a mistake. Things like anonymous functions is like an inner function. So you type a function, like you do add hook, but instead of the second argument saying it's a string, you just type in the complete function there. You can do that in PHP 5.3, but you can't do it in 5.2. And I do that a lot for testing. And then on an occasion, you forget to remove that, and then it just gives a fatal on 5.2 side. So
learn the hard way.
Yep, unit tests.
Well, thanks, Barry, so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate your time and sharing with our listeners, and wishing Never 5 some big success.
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing how it goes.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So, Barry, where can people find you on the web to follow up?
I'm on Twitter at KageNL, and yeah, never5.com. It's just an overview of the plugins I have, and Barry Kooij, KOOIJ.com. It's where I sometimes blog. But I should blog more, but don't we all?
Well, yes, we all need to blog. Cool. Well, thanks, Barry. Thanks, everybody who tuned in live. And Defender Barry will be in touch. Y'all can connect about that plugin. And until next week, we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.